Reality is far stranger than you have been told, far richer than your senses can immediately comprehend, and yet, almost everyone navigates it as if it were flat and predictable. Think about it. From the moment you wake up, most of us act on autopilot. We respond to notifications, deadlines, obligations, the noise of other people's expectations. We rarely pause to consider that the world is not just happening to us, it is happening with us. Every breath, every thought, every subtle shift in attention participates in a cosmic symphony we are only beginning to understand. You might have tried manifesting before. Maybe you wrote affirmations, visualized your dream life, meditated for weeks, and still felt as if nothing shifted. Money didn't appear. Love didn't knock. The career breakthrough stayed distant. You were doing everything right, yet reality refused to cooperate. And that is the point. Manifestation is never about trying. Trying comes from lack. Trying comes from the place of separation, of neediness. But the universe does not respond to need, it responds to being. At the heart of this shift is a concept that scientists call the observer effect. The double-slit experiment is one of the clearest demonstrations of this. When electrons or photons pass through two slits, they exist as waves of possibility, forming interference patterns as if they were exploring all outcomes simultaneously. But the moment a conscious observer measures which slit the particle passes through, the wave collapses into a particle with a definite position. In other words, reality does not exist as a fixed entity waiting for you to notice it. It becomes defined the moment it is observed. Your consciousness is not a passive witness, it is a participant. Yet, most people interpret this in the most superficial way possible. Think positive and good things will come. That's like staring at the ocean and expecting it to change direction just because you will it. The truth is far subtler, far deeper. The double-slit experiment teaches us that observation itself is a force. But what exactly are you observing when you are trying to manifest? Are you observing scarcity, longing, or disappointment? Or are you inhabiting the state of the reality you wish to live? Carl Jung called this the process of individuation. It's not about chasing external symbols of success or happiness. It's about integrating your consciousness so fully with your inner essence that your outer life mirrors it. Michael Talbot went further in the holographic universe, showing that every fragment of reality contains the whole. Every particle you encounter, every human interaction, even distant events are connected to you through a web of subtle entanglement. Jacobo Grinberg-Zilberbaum's research on the synchronicity between consciousness and field phenomena adds another layer, suggesting that when we cultivate coherent attention, the field of possibilities responds with events, relationships, and opportunities that mirror that coherence. Most people don't hear this because it has been suppressed, quietly removed from mainstream narratives. Schools teach obedience, not mastery over inner states. Governments and media systems encourage distraction, not awareness. It is inconvenient for the structures of control to acknowledge that consciousness is not just personal, it is powerful. It can, in fact, bend probabilities, shape reality, and collapse potential into presence. Ancient traditions, however, never forgot. The Vedanta teaches that the world is Maya, an illusion, yet a responsive illusion, shaped by the consciousness that experiences it. Egyptian mystery schools trained initiates in the subtle manipulation of life force, or Ka, to navigate reality with awareness. The I Ching is not merely a fortune-telling tool. It is a manual for attuning one's being to the rhythms of the cosmos. HeartMath research in recent decades has shown that the coherence of the heart produces measurable changes in electromagnetic fields that extend beyond the body, subtly influencing both personal reality and the environment. Science and mysticism are converging on the same truth. Reality is not something to chase, it is something to inhabit. This brings us to a subtle but critical point. Most manifestation practices fail because they ask you to act as if externally, before the inner state is fully aligned. You cannot fake resonance. You cannot think your way into a frequency that you are not embodying. Trying to manifest while out of alignment is like pressing a radio button on a station that exists on a frequency your receiver cannot tune into. The signal is there, but your inner dial is set elsewhere. Only when the internal vibration aligns with the desired outcome does the universe respond, not because it is magical, but because the field itself is responsive to coherent states of consciousness. This raises a deeper question. If consciousness co-creates reality, what are the consequences of living unconsciously? Every worry, every regret, every fixation on lack is a broadcast into the field. Your outer reality mirrors these inner frequencies. The patterns that repeat in your life, repeated job disappointments, relationships that fail, financial stress, are not random. They are echoes of unconscious states that have been reinforced over time. Recognizing this is not about blame. It is about awareness, about reclaiming your creative authority. And this is where the journey shifts from science to practice. Imagine you are standing on a shoreline, waves crashing at your feet, each wave a possibility, each ripple a potential event. You can scream at the water, demanding it to form a particular shape, or you can wade in, move in rhythm with it, and become one with the flow. To become is not passive. It is active in a way that the mind cannot fully comprehend at first. It is about embodying the outcome, vibrating as the fulfilled self before the event manifests in space and time. Practical steps for entering this state are subtle but profound. One approach is the silent observer technique. Begin by sitting quietly, observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. Notice patterns of scarcity, frustration, or longing. Then gently shift your attention to the state of the reality you wish to inhabit. Feel it as though it is present. Sense the emotions, the physicality, the rhythm of that life. This is not visualization alone. It is embodiment. The universe does not distinguish between actual and imagined when the inner state is coherent and fully inhabited. A synchronicity journal amplifies this practice. Record small, seemingly random coincidences that align with your inner state. Notice how they grow in frequency over time. Each coincidence is feedback, a subtle confirmation that you are beginning to collapse potential into presence. Another practice is a reality audit. Observe areas where your inner state and outer life are misaligned. Where are you broadcasting lack instead of coherence? How does your attention shape the probability field? By systematically observing and adjusting, you are no longer trying to manifest. You are becoming the vibration that the field naturally responds to. It is important to acknowledge that this work is not instantaneous. The field operates on probabilities, and alignment takes time. But time is relative within the quantum field. When you inhabit your desired state fully, the events, relationships, and opportunities corresponding to that state will unfold, often in ways that surprise the rational mind. The universe favors coherence. It mirrors the being rather than the wish. Yet this brings us to an even deeper understanding, one that moves beyond practical exercises into the soul itself. You are not merely a human navigating a random world. You are a conscious architect, entangled with all that is participating in a living, intelligent cosmos. The more you recognize that you are already inseparable from the reality you wish to create, the less you cling to effort and the more you embody presence. This is why attempting to manifest is often frustrating. It implies a gap, a separation, a not yet, that does not exist when you inhabit the state fully. At this point, you might be asking, how do I begin to embody it? How do I shift from trying to being? The answer is deceptively simple, yet profound. Awareness is the first step. Observe your habitual thoughts, your inner dialogue, your energy patterns. Then cultivate coherence. Choose a state, a frequency, a way of being, and allow it to permeate your entire body, mind, and heart. Finally, step lightly into the world, allowing events to unfold as reflections of your inner state. The outer will always respond to the inner. And as you do this, you will notice subtle shifts, relationships becoming mirrors of your alignment, finances flowing in synchrony with your energy, opportunities that once seemed impossible arriving naturally. Before moving further, take a moment to consider this. What if every moment you've spent trying to manifest was actually a rehearsal for becoming? What if all those failed attempts, all the frustrations, were calibrations for your inner alignment? The universe doesn't penalize you for struggle, it waits for resonance. And resonance begins when you stop struggling. It begins when you stop trying to force reality to bend and start aligning yourself with the life that is already waiting for you. And if you're curious to continue this journey, there's a subtle invitation here. Consider subscribing and joining this exploration of consciousness and creation. Every insight we explore together is designed not to give you more tools for trying, but to help you inhabit your reality more fully, to become the observer who shapes the field. Because the journey does not end with knowledge, it begins with embodiment. And yet, the story doesn't end here. Once you grasp this principle, you will begin to see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Every relationship, every opportunity, every challenge in your life is a reflection of your inner state, and each holds keys to accelerating your coherence. The next stage of this journey is about understanding why society has conditioned you to live in separation, and how reclaiming your creative authority changes everything. But before diving into that, we need to explore the invisible forces that shape our reality in ways most people never notice. The subtle suppression, the hidden structures, and the forbidden knowledge that shows you are far more powerful than you've ever been told. And yet, the deeper we go, the more unsettling the realization becomes. Most of what you've been taught about reality, success, and personal power is not false. It is incomplete. The structures of society, education, and mainstream science have inadvertently, or sometimes intentionally, narrowed your perception of what is possible. You were taught to look outward for validation, to obey timelines, to measure achievement in linear, tangible terms. Rarely are we encouraged to examine the subtle forces that actually shape our experience. Consciousness, coherence, frequency, and the hidden architecture of reality itself. Consider this. The quantum field does not respond to your resume, your bank account, or your social status. It responds to vibration. The same field that shapes galaxies, stars, and subatomic particles resonates with your inner state. The miracles you witness in your life, the perfect timing, the chance encounters, the sudden insights, are not random. They are the universe's feedback, reflecting your alignment or lack thereof. Yet for decades we've been trained to call these luck or coincidence, as if human consciousness has no bearing on outcomes. Ancient civilizations, however, understood this intuitively. The Egyptians didn't build pyramids merely for burial. They constructed portals for consciousness to align with the greater cosmic order. The I Ching was not simply a prediction tool. It taught practitioners to attune to cycles of change, to move in harmony with the flow of probability rather than against it. Vedanta philosophy has long described the self not as a separate individual, but as a node within an infinite consciousness. And modern science, from heart math studies on heart coherence to Amit Goswami's work on quantum consciousness, echoes the same truth. You are entangled with reality in ways most people never learn to harness. Yet this knowledge is often obscured, minimized, or dismissed in conventional education and media. Why? Because empowered consciousness is disruptive. A human who truly understands their creative capacity cannot be easily controlled by fear, scarcity, or external systems of authority. Knowledge that reality responds to alignment challenges hierarchies built on distraction and obedience. The world doesn't want you to realize that you can collapse potential into presence by mastering your internal state. This is why synchronicities, quantum phenomena, and intuitive insights are often relegated to the realm of pseudoscience or mysticism. The mechanisms exist, yet they are hidden in plain sight. This suppression makes the journey both thrilling and subversive. You're not just learning a principle, you're stepping into forbidden wisdom that quietly dismantles old narratives. You are awakening to the fact that every thought, every emotion, every pattern of attention is a tool in your creative arsenal. And here lies the paradox. The more you resist the idea that you are already powerful, the longer the universe will mirror resistance. The moment you stop resisting and begin to embody what you wish to see, the field shifts effortlessly, reflecting your coherence. But embodiment is not instantaneous. It requires practice, awareness, and courage. Begin with observation. Watch your habitual reactions, the invisible patterns that have dictated your life. Notice how often you focus on lack, fear, or limitation. Then begin to shift your state, even subtly. A simple practice is to imagine your life fully aligned, not as a fantasy, but as a felt experience. How does it feel to wake up in abundance, love, and flow? Let the emotions, sensations, and posture of that reality permeate your being. This is not positive thinking, it is vibrational alignment. When the inner state matches the desired outcome, the universe responds, often in unexpected, synchronistic ways. Take, for instance, repeating numbers 1111, 222, 333. These are not mere coincidences or internet myths. In many ancient teachings, numbers were considered signatures of universal harmony, markers of alignment with the flow of probability. Carl Jung called them meaningful coincidences, revealing patterns between internal states and external events. When you begin to notice such signals, you are witnessing the universe communicating through reflection, signaling that your attention, your resonance, is in sync with deeper layers of reality. This is where many seekers falter. They focus on external tools or results without first cultivating the internal coherence that allows the field to respond. Vision boards and affirmations can help, but they are secondary. First comes being, then comes manifestation. When your inner vibration is tuned to your desired reality, external signs, opportunities, and breakthroughs follow naturally. Trying without being creates friction. Being without trying creates flow. Yet, the field is not blind. It does not respond to wishful thinking, it responds to alignment. This is why practical tools for embodiment are essential. One method is the reality audit. This involves observing every aspect of your daily life, relationships, work, habits, and even random encounters, and noticing where your inner state is misaligned with the life you desire. Which areas carry fear, scarcity, or resistance? Which areas resonate with love, creativity, or abundance? By mapping these patterns, you become aware of the energy you are broadcasting, the frequency you are emitting into the quantum field. Another practice is cultivating coherence through your body and heart. HeartMath research has demonstrated that the electromagnetic field of the heart extends beyond the body, interacting with the environment and influencing the probability field. Coherence practices such as deep breathing, gratitude, and intentional focus amplify your ability to emit stable, aligned frequencies. By combining these practices with observation and embodiment, you transform from a passive observer of life into an active participant in reality creation. And there is more. The silent observer technique deepens this practice by teaching you to notice without judgment. Instead of reacting to thoughts or emotions, you observe them as signals. Fear becomes information, not a command. Desire becomes a map, not a pressure. Repetition becomes calibration, not punishment. Over time, your awareness grows and your alignment strengthens. Life begins to respond in ways that feel magical because it is magical. The quantum field is alive, responsive, and sensitive to coherent being. Relationships, for instance, often reflect our inner coherence or lack thereof. People in our lives act as mirrors, reflecting patterns we may not consciously recognize. When you inhabit alignment, relationships shift, not by manipulation or force, but by resonance. Toxic patterns dissolve, connections deepen, and interactions become harmonious reflections of your inner state. Even financial opportunities are influenced by frequency. The energy you carry attracts circumstances that match it. Scarcity attracts scarcity, abundance attracts abundance. This is not superstition, it is applied quantum law in daily life. At this point, you might notice an internal tension. Part of you may wonder, if I simply embody what I desire, does that mean I am avoiding effort or responsibility? Quite the opposite. Embodiment is the highest form of action because it aligns your inner state with the most effective, coherent expression of energy. Effort without alignment is wasted. Coherent action, born from embodiment, has a gravitational pull on reality. It magnetizes opportunities, people, and situations with an ease that frustration and trying never can. And yet, coherence is not static. The field is dynamic. Probabilities shift constantly. This is why awareness must be ongoing. The daily practice of observation, alignment, and embodiment creates a continuous feedback loop. You notice patterns, adjust your inner state, and witness corresponding shifts in outer circumstances. Life becomes a dance of resonance rather than a battle of will. You are no longer trying to force manifestation. You are cultivating presence, tuning your being to the frequency of your fulfilled self. In fact, every seemingly mundane moment becomes fertile ground for this work. Waiting in line, walking through your neighborhood, drinking your morning coffee. These ordinary moments are opportunities to calibrate frequency. You can broadcast coherence in silence, allowing the field to respond naturally. This is where most seekers overlook the power of subtlety. It is not the dramatic visualization or the loud affirmations that collapse potential into presence. It is the quiet, embodied, consistent alignment that creates quantum acceleration. And here is the most astonishing part. The more you embody, the more effortless the alignment becomes. The field begins to anticipate your resonance. Events, people, and opportunities flow toward you with synchronicity and grace. It is not luck. It is physics. It is consciousness. It is the universe responding to a coherent vibration. You begin to realize that trying to manifest is like paddling against a current. Being is like swimming in the river. One requires strain, friction, and struggle. The other unfolds naturally, gracefully, inevitably. At this point, if you've stayed with me, you may feel a subtle shift already. The recognition that life is not outside of you, that the tools you've been searching for have always been within, waiting for you to inhabit them. And yet, the journey does not end here. The final step is integrating embodiment into every aspect of existence, transforming identity itself. It is one thing to align frequency in meditation or visualization. It is another to inhabit that frequency in relationships, work, health, and creativity. To guide you further, I want you to reflect on this. Every challenge, every limitation, every failure you've experienced is actually a mirror, reflecting unresolved patterns and misalignments. The moment you embody coherence, these mirrors stop reinforcing resistance and begin to amplify alignment. Financial stress becomes a cue to adjust frequency. Relationship tension becomes an invitation to embody unconditional presence. Creative blocks become signals to return to resonance. Life is speaking to you constantly. The key is learning to listen not with the mind, but with the state of being. And as you continue this journey, there is an invitation, an opportunity to deepen your exploration, to cultivate awareness, and to witness your own power as a conscious architect. Subscribing to this channel is not about more content. It is about joining a collective resonance, a field of awareness, a community where observation and embodiment are celebrated as the highest form of mastery. Every new insight shared here is a reflection, a tool, a mirror, guiding you to inhabit your reality with intention and grace. But the story doesn't end here. There is yet a higher layer, one that moves beyond practice and strategy into transformation. This is the layer where identity shifts, where the old self dissolves and a new self emerges, a self that no longer struggles with manifestation, because manifestation is no longer something you do, it is who you are. To understand this transformation fully, we must explore how embodiment changes the nature of relationships, finances, health, and creativity, and how this shift leads to a radical redefinition of self. And that is where we go next. And now, the moment you've been moving toward, the transformation that turns knowing into being, effort into flow, wishing into reality. It begins with identity. Most of us operate from a limited self-concept, a version of ourselves shaped by circumstance, by expectation, by the stories we've been told. That identity observes life reactively, believing it is separate from the forces that shape reality. But when you embody coherence, that limited identity begins to dissolve. The self you've been struggling to improve is replaced by a self that is aligned, a self that already exists in the reality you desire. This is the silent revolution of becoming. When you stop trying to manifest and start being what you desire, your consciousness shifts from observer to architect. Relationships transform because the people around you respond to the vibration you emit. Patterns of conflict dissolve as your inner state mirrors stability, love, and clarity. Money, once a source of stress, begins to flow in unexpected ways because abundance is not just an external goal, it is a frequency you inhabit. Even your body responds. Stress hormones decrease, intuition sharpens, and creativity becomes a natural byproduct of coherence. Consider this: every opportunity that seemed impossible, every lucky break, every moment of insight is not external luck. It is a direct reflection of your inner frequency. This is why embodiment matters more than intention. The universe doesn't react to your desire for money. It reacts to the state of being that money represents. It doesn't respond to your prayers for love. It responds to the vibration of love you radiate. And it doesn't answer your demands for freedom. It responds to the frequency of freedom you inhabit in thought, feeling, and action. To make this tangible, imagine yourself as a conductor standing before a vast orchestra. Every instrument, every note, every resonance responds to your presence, your awareness, your coherence. You do not have to push, demand, or manipulate. You only need to embody the music fully. The universe will follow the vibration you are broadcasting. And yet, for most people, the orchestra is out of tune because they are still operating from fragmented, unaligned states. Embodiment is the tuning. It is the integration of mind, heart, body, and spirit. It is the alignment of the inner frequency with the reality already waiting for you. This process is not abstract. You can practice it daily in subtle but powerful ways. Begin with attention. Notice where your focus drifts, towards scarcity, fear, frustration, and gently redirect it to coherence, presence, and alignment. Use a synchronicity journal to track small confirmations from reality, and let these become markers of your growing embodiment. Engage in the silent observer practice regularly, watching thoughts and emotions without reacting, allowing them to flow while maintaining alignment with the reality you wish to inhabit. And most importantly, remember that being comes before doing. Action is a natural outflow of your coherent state, not a replacement for it. Relationships will serve as mirrors in this transformation. When you embody love, trust, and clarity, those qualities reflect back to you in unexpected ways. Difficult interactions become opportunities to test coherence, to recalibrate vibration, and to move from reactive patterns to conscious engagement. Financial abundance flows not through frantic effort, but through resonance. When your internal state embodies confidence, creativity, and openness, opportunities align with your frequency, often arriving when and how you least expect them. Health, creativity, and overall vitality increase because coherence reduces internal friction, stress, and tension, allowing the life force to flow more freely through your being. And this is where identity shifts. The old self, reactive, fearful, and fragmented, gives way to a new self, the silent observer, the field navigator, the conscious architect. This is not a metaphor. It is a literal rewiring of experience. Every thought, every action, every interaction is now filtered through the lens of embodiment. You no longer try to create. You exist as creation. You do not force circumstances. You invite them. You do not chase life. You inhabit life fully, and the field responds naturally. This transformation is not optional if you seek mastery over reality. It is the only way to bridge the gap between knowledge and lived experience. Attempting to manipulate or force manifestation without identity alignment is like building a house on shifting sand. Effort without coherence produces friction, resistance, and disappointment. Being first, aligning identity, tuning vibration, and then acting, this is the architecture of conscious creation. It is the difference between struggling to climb a mountain and finding that the mountain itself rises to meet you. Now, how does this manifest in practical, everyday terms? Relationships become deeper and more harmonious because your presence influences others, revealing patterns and contracts that were previously unconscious. Finances stabilize and grow because your energy matches abundance, drawing opportunities with ease rather than strain. Creativity flows because your internal state is coherent, receptive, and free from inner conflict. Even health improves as stress dissolves, heart coherence strengthens, and your nervous system aligns with your embodied state. Each area of life becomes a mirror reflecting your internal coherence, amplifying alignment in ways that seem almost magical, but are entirely natural once the principles are understood. And yet, transformation is not about perfection. It is about radical responsibility, the willingness to observe without judgment, and the courage to step fully into your coherent state. Detachment becomes a natural consequence because you no longer cling to outcomes, you inhabit them. Alignment replaces struggle. Flow replaces force. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance because you have become a living node of creation, resonating with the field, collapsing probability into presence effortlessly. At this stage, a subtle but profound question arises. Who are you when you are no longer trying to manifest? The answer is simple yet transformative. You are the reality you wish to experience. You are not separate from abundance, love, creativity, or health. You are not chasing them. You are their embodiment. Every action, every thought, every interaction is now filtered through this identity, creating a ripple effect that transforms life at every level. You are no longer a participant waiting for the universe to deliver. You are the universe expressed through a coherent, living self. And so, an invitation emerges. Begin now. In this moment, shift your state, breathe into embodiment, observe without judgment, and feel yourself aligned with the reality that has been waiting for you. Declare silently, in vibration and being rather than words, I am already the life I wish to experience. Notice what arises, what flows, what mirrors back. Journal it, feel it, inhabit it fully. Watch as relationships, opportunities, health, and creativity begin to respond to the coherence you radiate. This is not magic. It is consciousness in action. It is quantum law lived fully. It is you stepping into the highest version of yourself. And as you continue this journey, there is a subtle rhythm to follow. Daily embodiment, observation, reflection, and alignment create a feedback loop that accelerates transformation. Every experience becomes a signal, every interaction a reflection, every synchronicity a confirmation. Life ceases to be random and becomes a living mirror of your coherence. You are no longer trying to manifest. You are becoming. At this point, if you feel the resonance of what you are reading, consider subscribing. This space is designed to amplify your awareness, to hold you in the current of transformation, and to guide you deeper into coherent being. Each video, each insight, each exploration is not just content. It is a mirror, a tool, and a vibration that interacts with your own. By staying connected, you are participating in a collective field of observation and embodiment, accelerating both your own transformation and the resonance of the larger conscious field. And finally, let this sink in. You are not separate. You are entangled with all that is. Every thought, every state, every alignment reverberates through the fabric of existence. To embody coherence is to navigate life as a conscious architect, a silent observer who collapses probability into presence. You do not chase life, you radiate it. You do not force reality, you invite it. You do not wait, you become. And so, as you step back into your day, into your life, remember this. The power to collapse potential into presence has always been yours. The universe has always responded to your coherence. The magic is not an external effort. It is in your state of being. And as you embody, as you align, as you inhabit fully, the outer world will begin to mirror the inner, effortlessly, gracefully, inevitably. If this resonates, continue the journey. Engage with these practices, notice the synchronicities, inhabit your reality fully, and watch as life responds in ways you once thought impossible. And for those ready to go even deeper, the next exploration will take you beyond embodiment into the art of letting go of old patterns, dissolving resistance, and stepping into pure, unfiltered creative flow. But for now, pause. Breathe. Feel yourself as the reality you've always sought. The journey is not in doing, it is in becoming. And remember this, because it is the final thread that ties the journey together. You are not manifesting. You are not waiting. You are not striving. You are already the living, breathing embodiment of your highest reality, and the universe is simply reflecting it back to you, moment by moment, now and always.